Hello and welcome to this rather serious video on a topic that is very important in general and to me specifically, as I myself have suffered from OCD, anxiety and panic attacks, and I still do sometimes, just to a lesser extent than I used to. And so in this video, I want to talk about all the reasons I have observed and experienced and so on why INFJs are more prone to mental illnesses or mental health problems in general than I think most of the other or many other types, and also a little bit about the possible solutions or what to do about it as an INFJ. Okay, first things first, I think most INFJs are also highly sensitive people, which just means that their nervous systems work differently from the majority of people, and they are more easily affected by all sorts of stimuli, or as I'd say, energies. Um, Furthermore, the INFJ with introverted intuition as their main function has a very active and sometimes overactive mind and imagination. And they are so future oriented that they have to be careful, I'd say, not to live in a constant state of, projecting into the future, or planning for the future or envisioning the future instead of living in the here and now. Also, not just with the introverted intuition, but also the introverted thinking as their third function, they might have intuitive insights or into something, like they can sense a change in energies or in trends, in developments, and they with TI they overanalyze it and try to think it through to the end, which often leads them to form those catastrophic apocalyptic scenarios in their head. And so the combination, I think, of being highly sensitive, highly intuitive, highly intelligent, and highly empathetic people makes them very vulnerable when it comes to mental illnesses. Because not just that they themselves can think themselves crazy and experience intense emotions also, especially when they fall in the trap of suppressing their emotions for too long, for example, in order to please someone else. So not just that they have their own eternal wars going on with being overwhelmed by their own thoughts or emotions, or having conflicting thoughts and emotions, because they are multi-layered people in general, INFJs. Not just that, but they also often carry with them the pain of others they are close to. Because as most of us know, wounded and broken people often attach to INFJs, thinking that they can help them, heal them, save them, or whatever, which in part is also true, because INFJs do have this loving, compassionate, soothing way about them, and this understanding of other people also, which can benefit them. But INFJs are just usually way better at, giving advice to someone else than they are at figuring out their own shit. And so, so the INFJ can overexert themselves also in this attempt to help others, especially if they have their own stuff to deal with, or use helping others as a coping mechanism, or what's it called, I don't know, a distraction from their own stuff they have to work through. Anyways, what I actually wanted to say is that even an INFJ who is relatively like balanced or calm inside, let's call it this way, can, I think, develop mental health problems over time if they are, if they have a lot of contact with people who suffer from mental health problems. For me, for example, I grew up in a household where like two of the three people in my immediate family suffered from depression and other things, and I think it influenced me a lot. And it's like having to witness all of their pain and struggles as a relatively young person, not a child, or rather a young teen, has, I think, laid the basis or the foundation in my case for later on developing my own issues. And especially since the third person in our family didn't carry that pain as much as they maybe should have, and didn't feel like the necessary emotional support system to those other two, which then I felt like I had to become the strong person for others that they could lean on and trust in, and that would never let them down, basically, in a way that made me carry way too much responsibility at a pretty young age. And that was, I think, that, and plus some other experiences I've had, like with abandonment things also, like a duality between being overburdened and overwhelmed and completely left alone and abandoned, which were things that happened to me in a sequence of time. Those things really laid the burden for me personally to develop all my stuff, I think. Plus, okay, yet another tendency in the INFJ is to be very perfectionistic and, very meticulous. And I think that is also, for me personally, one of the reasons why I developed an obsessive compulsive disorder, because I have an overwhelming need for clarity sometimes, and for not as much for outer order as for inner order and stability. Okay, so what are some of the possible solutions? How can INFJs protect themselves from, you know, developing a mental illness, or at least protect themselves from, worsening it? So, number one, of course, is learning to set healthy boundaries, which is, I think, something there are a lot of videos about, especially when it comes to INFJs, and which is something which is, of course, hard as a child, for example, but the older you get, the better you get at it, hopefully. And yeah, being very, as I said in one of my other videos, being very selective with what you allow into your reality, into your mind, and what kind of information you absorb, what kind of people you surround yourself with, and how often, and so on. Furthermore, trying to use all this power of your mind as an INFJ for, you know, the feebling your fears, for example, invalidating them instead of building them up, or using your imagination to visualize a beautiful future instead of, one of those horrible scenarios. And also, as I'm kind of doing right here in this video, using your TI, for example, and your introverted intuition to analyze all the underlying patterns and the causes for your mental health problems, so that you can work through them. And yeah, and another advice, which sometimes really actually saved my life, I'm not kidding, is just when you are at an extreme, phase of a dark night of a soul, it's just distract yourself in any way you can, like anything that helps you to not think about whatever is plaguing you for some seconds. Just do that. Like binge watch TV, or listen to anything that manages to get your mind off things, or try to sleep as much as you can, or try to do whatever literally makes you feel better and forget your pain. Sometimes when you're in your worst state, there's nothing else you can actually do. And of course, I think I'm probably obligated to mention something like this. If you feel very, very bad and think you have a mental health problem, or a disorder or whatever, of course you should talk about it with, firstly, like family members, friends, or whomever you trust, and also go and seek professional help, like therapy. And yeah, I think that's it for today, and maybe I'll elaborate on some of those things in a future video. And as always, feel free to leave a comment, and till the next time, bye.